What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome to another video. It's currently 11:14 p.m. on Monday the 18th of September, and hopefully you've watched yesterday's video, which was a Sunday review when I did talk about the commitment of traders and my expectation for some kind of reversal to come soon. So hopefully you've seen that video, and then yeah, we're just gonna get straight into the charts. So this is how I left yesterday's charts pretty much. I was bringing our attention to the 50% level of this monthly wick, which I have marked out in black dashed lines, and this volume imbalance we have on the monthly as well that I've delineated in red. Here's the current month we're trading in, and I'm going to get straight down to the daily just to show you what's been going on. So we had this fair value gap resting below market price that we traded into on the Monday. We traded lower. I believe it was in the afternoon session of New York, because all of London and all of New York morning it were very heavily consolidated. And this kind of move here, this is what I anticipated. This is what I was talking about in terms of expecting some kind of fall lower. Like when I saw the commitment of traders that I spoke about in yesterday's video, this kind of move lower is what I had I got my eyes set on it in terms of I want to see what happens now in terms of, are we going to find support and move higher, or are we going to continue lower? Now obviously we have this daily fair value gap here. Now if price trades through this fair value gap, then I'd start to be looking for more bearish PD arrays to trade down to, because this should act as support right now. You can see we traded to the 50% level of it, which is very interesting. So tomorrow, if this continues to show support, then I'd like to think that we are going to move higher for the rest of the week on DXY and start to run again into that monthly imbalance I have resting up here, and obviously and see how it treats this consequent encroachment. Now if we trade through this bearish fair value gap, let me just mark out the midpoint of it, because you can see we traded to that pretty precisely. So if we trade through this tomorrow and with aggression and a continued with continued momentum, I'd then want to see if we find resistance at the fair value gap. So see if it comes back, taps it, in which case then I'll start looking for this low here to get ran. Other than that, we should still be bullish because price hasn't broken market structure yet. So what I'm saying is that if this fair value gap gives way, then I'll start to see if we can run into this range. And if we have continued bearishness, then I'd like to start thinking that we've had the reversal that I anticipated. If not, then price should find support within this fair value gap and then start to expand higher and run up into that fair value gap, that volume imbalance from the monthly, which I just pointed out. Obviously, we have these relative equal highs resting up here as well. But if we go to the monthly, again, I said this all in yesterday's video, this fair value gap over here, I'll just mark it out in blue very quickly. This fair value gap right here, I want to see this left open if we are to be bearish on a monthly basis. So I don't really want to see price trade into that, but it can, which is why we're at quite an indecisive time. And obviously that makes sense with the Fed rate decision this week as well. So we need to take that into consideration. In fact, real quick, I'm going to quickly look at what news announcements we have this week. Tomorrow we have the building permits, which is high impact. That's on Tuesday. And then Wednesday we have inflation rate for GBP, and obviously the FOMC, the Fed interest rate decision, which is also Wednesday. So Wednesday we can expect a lot of volatility. Anyway, let's drop down to the 4 hour and see how price traded. Here's that heavy consolidation I was talking about that we saw today. You can see a lot of back and forth action until eventually we aggressively traded lower, taking out this swing low and this swing low here. And look how price has stopped right at that 50% level. The low of this wick is 105.022, and you can see the midpoint of the fair value gap was 105.024. So it's traded just about below that, and you can see we've had a big reaction up, but look, we've had a rebalance right here. I spoke about this in my backtesting video, so I suggest you go watch them if you haven't, but this is what you call an immediate rebalance. As soon as we traded back up to here, this range I now see as rebalance, which would hint to me to see lower prices. Where would the next target be? Well, we have the rest of this massive 4 hour fair value gap to fill, and then I'd start to look for running into these lows below here. That's assuming we are to move lower. Now let's go to the 1 hour, see if we can see any more at price action. There's that rebalance I was talking about on the 4 hour. Look how price traded into this wick and broke lower. Technically there is a breaker there, and I'll show you that now. And I'm going to use the path just to delineate it more clearly for you. We've got a high, a low, a higher high, and a lower low, which makes this low the breaker. And you can see as soon as we trade into that, price instantly rejects it, and it came back down to the fair value gap. Now, you can see that we do have relative equal highs up here in terms of this high, this high, this high, and this high. But we do have to remember that this dashed line is that monthly consequent encroachment. So price can turn around at this point, which is why I was so convinced, or so very skeptical about the idea of us moving lower. And again, with that commitment of traders report, which I do need to double check today, I do anticipate some kind of reversal to happen. So if we are tomorrow, I'd like to see if we can expand lower again below the fair value gap. If that happens, I'd then like to see a rush down into this south side liquidity resting below here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out the south side, which I want to see us reach for. But again, considering FOMC is on the Wednesday, I don't know how consolidated the markets are going to continue to be. But until then, we have this massive fair value gap resting below here. This should get filled if we are to be bearish. If we're bullish, I'd like to see it left open. But again, you can see we kind of just consolidated again. But the way this has rushed lower and taken out this low so aggressively too, I'm not really too confident in thinking that price is going to want to pull back again. But again, with FOMC and everything, anything can happen at this point. I don't want to be too sure. But it is interesting to see how we have started to move lower and respect for now that 50% level of that fair value gap. So let's go on to GBP and have a look what's happened. We'll start with the weekly on GBP. Oh. So this is the week so far. Now, if we were to have higher dollar, you'll remember me stating that I'd expect GBP to start running down into these lows and into the monthly bullish order block. Here's Monday's price action. Again, not very consolidated day on GBP. Absolutely disgusting if you ask me. I would like to see a break in market structure, a proper one. So I'm waiting for some kind of expansion, either higher or lower. Again, that's either likely going to happen tomorrow or Wednesday. You can see we made this low here at 4 a.m. And then since then, we just had a lot of back and forth price action. So what I'm waiting for now is an expansion before I want to make any kind of decisions or movements or prediction in terms of where the market's likely to draw to. So if we are to have lower dollar, which I pointed out that may happen, then that means that I'd want to start looking for this buy side liquidity here, here, and here to start getting reached for. And then eventually run into the relative equal highs resting above here, here. You can see there's a lot of liquidity on the buy side. So if we are to see higher pound, that means it's going to have to reach all the way into this swing high. And then I'd like to see it completely reverse and start to expand higher, assuming dollar is to move lower. Now, again, you can tell with how I'm explaining things, I'm not very confident. And that's purely because, again, FOMC and the way the markets are moving in general has been crazy in the recent weeks. So I don't want to say too much. But where is that monthly order block gone? Here's that monthly order block that I marked out in yesterday's video that I said we may draw to if dollar was to move higher. But we just need to see what dollar's saying, really. But yeah, you can see a lot of heavy consolidation. Not the best environment to be trading in. To be honest, I wouldn't be taking any trades until Thursday by the looks of things, because these are not the best enough environments. So yeah, let's go to Euro just to finish off. You can see Euros had quite an expansive day higher, the same way dollar has. We're trading into this fair value gap. Did we respect the 50% level? I believe so. We'll take a look at that now. Just like dollar traded to the 50% level of its fair value gap, we can see Euro traded to the 50% level of this one. What I'd keep an eye out for now is this wick here. So I'm going to mark out the consequent encroachment of that, because remember, wicks are gaps too, meaning that this wick has now been trading on the upside, so it should provide support. So I'm going to draw at the 50% level, which is right here. Hopefully this is making sense, guys. That's consequent encroachment, yeah. And then we drop down to the 4 hour. That's the lowest I'd expect price to reach if we are to remain bullish on Euro. And then what would happen is I'd want to see us expand for this buy side liquidity resting here and into this beautiful fair value gap resting up here as well. But that is assuming dollar wants to move lower again. So if I was you, I'd keep an eye on this level, as this will be a nice buy if price is to reach back down here. They don't want to see expand through this. Remember, this is the daily fair value gap. I don't want to see price expand through that, find support, and continue to move higher for the rest of the week, if that is the case. But yeah, again, consolidation, expansion higher, came back down. Let's see if we can make the low tomorrow. I'm not very sure though. And yeah, it's just a matter of waiting at this point. One thing I do want to look at is I do want to just quickly split the screen. So let's add GBP USD and let's add DXY as well. And let's just have a look at how they've been moving recently, because I know that GBP has been moving a bit out of tandem, as she likes to do. So we've all made lower lows. Where's the higher highs? So here's the divergence. We can see that GBP's been making lower lows, as Euro's been making higher lows, and dollar's been making lower highs. So as per usual, well, not per usual, but as I commonly see, the dollar and euro are in tandem because euro's moving higher as dollar's been moving lower. But pound wants to play about and make that lower low, which means that this pound is going to act as a sixth sister. So if euro is to say expand higher and run into that buy side liquidity that I just marked out for you guys, which was here. So if euro is to do that and dollar is to run down into the south side liquidity, which is resting below there, that means that pound's going to have to do a lot of catching up, which means pound's going to be the weaker pair to trade. However, it will need to catch up, which means there might be more expansion on pound's behalf. So that's one thing to keep an eye out for this week. However, like I said, it is possible that dollar still may want to go higher. And if dollar does decide to start going higher, that means that you want to be trading pound, because pound's a weaker pair, meaning that the shorting on pound will be much easier and much smoother, whereas shorting on euro will be more difficult, clearly because we have all this strength. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. I'll explain it more once we get more data. We still got a lot of time this week. But yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out yesterday's video where I was talking about the commitment of traders. Found some very interesting things there. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.